Here we go for extract 2. Fred picked up the thing the explorer had dropped. It was a screw of soft leaves fastened at the top with thick grass. He opened it. Inside was a pinch of salt mixed with some flakes of dried green something. It's seasoning, he said, for the bird. Stop changing the subject, snapped Con. Look, you've got to agree. Go and run after him and tell him you've changed your mind. I can't. Why not? You don't have to actually do it. Just say you have. I can't. And he thought of his father, and he thought of going back to school, not just as that Peterson boy with no mother, but a boy who'd faced the jungle and discovered the whole world. Please, Fred, said Lila, please do what Con says. Run after him. Our parents will be so worried. They might die. Max's eyes widened and Lila sighed. I didn't mean it, Max. It's just an expression. It's too late anyway, said Fred. You heard him. He won't help any of us now. He's too angry. Because you made him too angry, said Con. So did you, snapped Fred. You can do whatever you want. I'm not swearing a lie, all right? What, because you think you're so high and moral? No, because I won't, all right. Because it would be lying about the most important thing that's ever happened to me. You never know. You just want to get your name in the papers. Yes, he would. He would know. He'd find out, wouldn't he? Because people would come here to take photographs and do archaeological digs. I don't care what happens once I'm home, said Con. This whole place could burn. Stop it, shouted Lila, and her voice rang through the courtyard. They turned in surprise. Shut up, both of you. Every inch of her body was stiff with anger. You're both disgusting. If it's too late, then there's no point in fighting. And if you make Max cry again, I swear I'll punch you both. Max climbed into Lila's lap and buried her face in Baccha's fur. Fred swallowed and he tried to recapture his temper. He held out the seasoning. Do you want some? We might as well eat. No, it could be poisonous, said Con. Fred withdrew his meat from the fire. It was black in patches and the skin was charred and steaming. He pulled off the skin with his fingers, wincing at the heat, and sprinkled a pinch of salt and unknown herbs onto the bird. Defiantly, averting his eyes from Con's glare, he took a bite. The first taste of it shot through his body. It was a flavour that got into your fingertips, hot and wild and rich. Not poisonous, he said. It's good. Hope you choke, said Con. Soon it was entirely dark, the fire and the moon. The flames cast light onto the city square, throwing its corners in strange, dusky shapes. Con shivered as a cloud swept past the moon, lengthening the shadows. Lila hunched over it and began to search Baccha's fur for ticks, avoiding Fred's eye. Fred looked towards the curtain of vines. They hung in the dark, a great green sweep of shadow covering the right-hand corner of the square. What do you think's behind there? He asked. What do you think he doesn't want us to see? I don't know, said Con, and I don't care. She'd brushed her hair in front of her eyes so no one could see her face. It could be an animal, said Lila. She glanced up and then away. You know, a panther, like in the Jungle Book? It might be food, said Fred. Max sat up. Real food. Why would he keep it there? Said Lila. I was thinking there must have been a place for storing food when this city was alive, and it's where I'd keep the stores, somewhere almost invisible. Fred looked around, checking the explorer was nowhere near. I think we should go and look. Oh, sure, great idea, said Con. You've already made him so angry that he's going to let us rot here. Why not add stealing his food to the list? He could kill you, you know, with his bare hands, but I'm sure that doesn't worry you. I wouldn't steal, it'd be borrowing, and even then, not unless we had to. What do you mean, have to? If he won't help us, we might have to find other ways. To do what? Said Con. To find enough supply to start the journey to Manius. Fred gestured around the empty city. Not much food here. Con was growing red. You do know that it's your fault. You said if we followed the map, we'd get home. And then the second we get here, you ruin it. I didn't. Fred could feel his neck and cheeks flushing. I didn't expect the map to lead to a madman with a pet vulture living alone in an ancient city, did I? That's not something any of us predicted. You promised we'd get home. We will get home, said Fred, though he was fairly sure he hadn't promised. Who was he to promise anything? But he only said, I want to know. Aren't you curious? No, said Con, and she swiveled her bottom to turn her back to face him. He could see the sharp thinness of her shoulder blades poking out of her blouse. He would never find out. If he could find food, Fred thought, then it wouldn't matter what the explorer said or did. They could just get back on the raft and go to Manius. If he could find food, then the chill of Con's anger and Lila's disappointment might be swept all away. Do what you want. I'm not going over there, said Con. Lila, said Fred. Lila had been watching them argue, her head turning from one to the other and her eyes growing steadily more unhappy. It's getting dark. He wouldn't see us. Do you want to come? Lila hesitated. I don't know. He trusts us. But he doesn't. He clearly doesn't trust us at all. He won't even tell us his name. Please, said Fred. The wall of vines hung like a threat in the corner of the city square. Just take a look. Lila stared out across the dark square. Fine, okay, I'll come. Thank you. Fred jumped to his feet. Are you sure, Con? Very, very sure. Con, you look after Max, said Lila. He hasn't mastered the art of silence yet. Con agreed, though without much pleasure. Fred and Lila moved slowly across the square, feeling their way in the half-dark. In between the avenue of trees, the ground was smooth, entirely free of weeds and leaves and jungle debris. But on the other side, there were a pile of stones, two half-ruined circular mud buildings that looked like grain stores, and shoots of growing things springing up everywhere. What do you think this was? Fred asked. I don't know, but if this was the city square, then those statues would be town monuments, or maybe they're gods. Like the lions on Trafalgar Square. At the thought of them, a gust of longing for home swept over him. Yes, Papa talks about them, and everyone would live around the sides of the central avenue or in the jungle tree houses. That's how I'd do it anyway. He's crazy to keep this secret, said Fred. It's amazing. It's not like anything I've seen in my life. And he glanced at Lila from the corner of his eye. He can't keep this all to himself. Lila didn't reply. She only stared fixedly ahead. There was the sound of footsteps running behind them. Fred sprang round, but it was Con, with Max in tow. We've changed our minds, said Con, panting hard, but I'm not talking to you. She made me come, said Max. She saw a shadow and thought it was a snake. I didn't, you little rat. Lila and Fred exchanged glances. You'll have to keep quiet, Maxie, said Lila. Always quiet, said Max with dignity, and he turned to pull his tongue out at his sister, tripped on a stone and let out a howl loud enough to wake the sleeping birds. My toe! Shh, said Lila. The tree rustled, then stilled abruptly, and Con looked nervous. We go back? Fred shook his head. You can, he said. I need to see. And as they approached the far end of the square, clouds moved over the moon, sweeping black shadows over the statues' faces, and they looked alive. Behind the statues ran a mud and stone wall, high over their heads. The left edge of the wall ended in crumbling ruin, overrun with patches of light yellow flowers. The right side vanished in a curtain of vines, the vines the explorer had forbidden them in touching. Fred approached the vines. They rustled. He stepped backwards. It might have been the wind or something living behind them. He tried not to think of snakes. He reached out and pushed a handful of vines away. Lila joined him. Behind the vines was another thicker curtain, plaited together, like wickerwork, woven so densely Fred could barely fit his hand through the green mass. He pushed both arms into the vines, elbow deep, and tugged. There was a flash of colour amid the green, and the vines fell back. I see something, he hissed. Said Con. What? Said Lila. I don't know. A piece of yellow. I can't see it anymore. We'll have to cut the vines, he said, and he took the knife from his pocket. No, wait, said Con. I don't know if that's a good idea. It is, said a voice over their head. An exceptionally bad idea. Fred froze. There was a smack of shoe on stone, and the explorer jumped down from the top of the wall, landing inches from Fred's face, grunting as his bad leg hit the ground. He straightened up, and his face rigid with fury. I asked you to stay away, he said softly. Is that so difficult? A cold dread shot through Fred. The look on the explorer's face was worse than being caned at school. I'm really sorry. Fred's tongue was suddenly dry. We just thought. You thought. And you're so grotesquely lacking in self-control that you cannot let a single idle thought pass through your minds without acting on it. We're so sorry, began Lila. Get away, said the explorer, his skin radiating hot rage. Desperation was rising in Fred's blood. He could see Max shaking with fear, and he stepped in front of him. We weren't going to take anything, he said, and he felt the burn of the lie flood through him and stumbled over his words. We just need to see. I said, go, just go. It's my fault, said Fred. It's my fault, not theirs. I don't care whose idea it was. The explorer pulled the knife from his belt and he pointed it at Fred's chest. Go to bed, and if I ever see you anywhere near the vines again, I'll cut off your fingers, fry them in banana oil, and feed them to the vulture for dessert. Fred turned and led the way back down the centre of the boulevard, shame pulsing in his chest. Even Max didn't make a sound. Endeavour. See you all tomorrow for our next instalment. Bye.